Hi everybody from WCA Physics. Today I'm going to be showing you how to get a good grade on your lab report. I just went through and was grading your current lab reports, the projectile motion one, and some of you did not follow the rubric very well. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of what really needs to get done for those, okay? So if you look at my message board, this one is accessible through the message board link when you click on the purple pushpin icon at the top of your screen. This is going to bring you to a number of different things. One of them, as you can see here, is a link for the lab rubric. And that should bring up a file, a Google Doc, showing you the rubric that is used for all physics lab reports. Okay. Now, I will say that sometimes there are things that apply less on some reports than others, but for the most part, you will always have a hypothetical. Now, this is where many of you did miss points, and this is because you did not include the hypothetical portion of your lab. If you go to the projectile motion lesson 5, and you look at the very first page, this is slide 1, it says, first, design an experiment you could construct that might measure projectile motion. Then it says you will not actually have to conduct the experiment. You will carry out the virtual lab beginning on the next screen. So you need to include what materials would you use, what would you measure, what would the results be, what would you expect the results to be, and if the results were different, what might that indicate to you? And here's where you might indicate potential sources of error in your hypothetical experiment. And remember that saying human error is just a cop-out. So you need to tell me what type of error you as a human might have done. Okay? So whether that is error in measurement, whether that's error in calculations, whether that is precision error, error in instrumentation. I mean, there's so many different ways in which things could go wrong. Maybe extra variables in the experiment. So those are the things you want to take into consideration, and I want you to be specific when telling me sources of error. Then, on the next slide, it tells you to develop a hypothesis, and then it will, to have you do the experiment itself. It will tell you what, if any, calculations need to be made. It will also tell you what data tables to put on here. So, and it will also indicate whether you should do a graph and what type of graph. I will say that anytime you have graphable data, you better construct a graph. So if there is a relationship to show, it needs to be shown. If there are calculations you are doing, you need to show those calculations as well. And you also need to show your rough data in a data table or multiple data tables if, that's what needs to happen. And then finally, what I would like you to do is with the conclusions, I want you to copy and paste the questions into your Word document and then answer the questions beneath them. I would prefer that you make them color-coded. So, for example, copy and paste the questions as is, and then write your answers in blue or in red. That is so much easier for me to see, and make sure you get credit for what you have concluded. Going back to the rubric here, one thing I want you to notice that when you're making your hypothesis, you are backing the hypothesis with text-based evidence. So whether that is citing a definition, or a law, or looking and explaining some of the equations, kinematics that you used, or what forces are at play, that is text-based support. Okay? Same deal for conclusions. Conclusions, you need to explain them, but you also then here need to make a connection back to your hypothesis. That's very important that in your conclusion, you are also going back to your hypothesis and explaining how your conclusion either supports or refutes your hypothesis. Okay, so keep these things in mind when you are doing a lab write-up. What I typically do is I print them out and I go through, make comments on them, and make markings on this is your rubric, and then I scan them back in, and that's what you get back as your comments in your document. It's just easier for me then to be able to really give you good feedback. If you have questions at all, feel free to give me a call at extension 2204. Otherwise, you can webmail me. If you want to make corrections on this first lab, the projectile motion lab, and resubmit it for a better grade, I will allow you to do that. However, now that this video is out there should not be the need to do that a second time. Hope you all have a great day, and I will talk to you later.